So, as I promised, we're going to do a practice test on um, the well, I guess the human system unit, and this is gonna be our last official class before we get into exams review. So, I'm thinking your exams to be on the 18th, so just like maybe a couple days after. So, pretty much, yeah, let's go. What part of the digestive tract has secretions with the pH as low as 2? So we know it's B, stomach, because stomach acid has a pH of 2, which is the correct order for the four main stages of food processing. So first, we have to eliminate D and D, C, and B, because we have to take something in before we can do any digestion, in fact. So, ingestion, digestion, absorption, elimination. So that is the only order because this doesn't make sense and all of these doesn't make sense. So two, you're gonna go ahead and pick A. For three, what is an example of a mechanical digestion? Digestion of sugars in small intestine. So small intestines we know has a lot of chemicals and really is not doing anything to physically break it down. And at that point, the sugars are very physically broken down already. So it's only chemical breaking down at that point. Biosalts combining with fat droplets. Bio is already a chemical itself. That's called chemical digestion. Bioproduction by the liver. There's no digestion happening, and chewing food in the mouth is the only correct choice, which is D. The throat is a part of the neck that lies in front of the vertebral column. It is a common passageway for air, food, water. What is another term for this common passageway? So, since we are looking at this, pharynx is a common passageway for air, food, and water. So I don't want to go through the rest because it seems pretty straightforward. Larynx is the voice box, esophagus is a food path, glottis is the flap, epiglottis, and all of that. So pharynx is the only one that makes sense. Most oxygen is carried by the blood. Most carbon dioxide is transported by the blood. So I understand it. It kind of sounds like, you know, it kind of sounds like a complete sentence itself already, but no. Most oxygen is carried by blood that's dissolved in. Well, I guess it's bound to hemoglobin because it's sticking onto the hemoglobin. So I guess it's either C or A or or E. Most carbon dioxide transported by the blood is dissolved in the blood. So dissolved in plasma. No. So I would say it's C because that's dissolved in blood fluids. Complete the following statement by choosing the correct pairs of terms. During internal respiration, oxygen diffuses from the into the. Okay, so first we have to understand it's internal, respiration. So oxygen will not diffuse from oxygen-rich tissues, but since we're respirating, so oxygen will diffuse from blood into the oxygen-poor tissues. So because we're transporting oxygen into the tissues that wants to breathe, so essentially they're gonna get some oxygen and they're gonna breathe. Very simple. Which of the following helps transportation of? Okay, so it's hemoglobin. I already gave the answer earlier, but it's hemoglobin. Urea, that's piss. Bicarbonate ion, that's just a chemical ion. It can't do anything yet. So keratin and melanin are two, well, I guess hormones. So, well, it's a supplement that you take. It kind of helps for the color of your skin, hair, and eyes, and it kind of helps protecting your body from UV lights. And then keratin is basically also one of these. It's just a protein that you eat, I guess. So these two proteins have no effect in transportation of oxygen, so the only one is hemoglobin. Which of the following statement is truth? True. Both arteries and veins have a layer of smooth muscle. So that is not true. Both arteries. Oh wait, no, that is true. So, but before we can pick A, we notice that there is an all of the above option. So before we actually just go ahead and pick A, we have to look at the rest. both arteries and veins branch out into capillaries, which is true. Precapillary sphincters regulate blood flow through capillaries. That is also true. Veins have a one-way valves to prevent backflow of blood. That is also true. So we're gonna go ahead and pick E. The primary function of the large intestine is to concentrate waste into solid form for release from the body. It does this by adding additional cells from the mucosal layer. Doesn't sound right to me. Absorbing water. Hey, that is exactly it. So when you look at all of these, releasing salt, pushing solid wastes, that is not even in the large intestine. So we remember that the large intestine, all it can do is actually absorb some water and hopefully some minerals, but that's only in the ideal case. So absorbing water. During respiration, most carbon dioxide is bound to oxygen used during cellular respiration, bound to hemoglobin stored in lungs prior to exhalation, carried in blood fluids. So during respiration, we're gonna go ahead and pick E because when we're breathing, the carbon dioxide is still in the blood fluids, and then when we breathe out, that is when we're gonna breathe out the carbon dioxide. So I really don't like one of these. I just really dislike one of those. I really can't tell the difference between large intestine and small intestines on this picture. So I don't expect you to actually go ahead and do these, but liver, gallbladder. Oh, sorry, B. B. I think that's the esophagus, but I'm not sure. This is a stomach. I would assume this is a large intestine because I would say this is a small intestine and this is the rectum. So I don't expect. I won't give you pictures like this. And this, I don't even know what C is pointing at. I think C is pointing at capillary, and B is alveoli, and A is that supposed to be bronchioles? But yeah. So I'm not supposed to give you these confusing images. I'm supposed to give you images that's very related to what I have gave in our classes. So expect something good. Don't expect stuff like this. You're watching a television program in which a doctor must perform an emergency procedure on a patient who has stopped breathing. The doctor inserts a wow, plastic tube into the patient's throat. What structure in the throat is the doctor likely targeting? Infer how this procedure will help the patient. So, the person has stopped breathing, right? So, we're obviously trying to target the trachea in this case, because that's the airway. So, how does this exactly help it? So, supposedly, we have this plastic tube. Obviously, it has a hole in the middle. So, we're gonna try to keep the open airway, because when somebody dies, essentially, their airway is gonna collapse. So, when we maintain this open airway, this allows oxygen to reach the lungs and bypass any potential, you know, obstructions. For example, there could be swollen tissues, or there could be something that's blocking it. So, by putting this pipe in there, it essentially makes us, hey, look, we cleared everything in here. You can breathe again, and hopefully they start breathing again. A patient has loose and bloody stools, cramps, and abdominal pain. Make a possible diagnosis. So remember, this is only 2 marks. If you just whatever, no matter what you diagnose, as long as you can justify it, I'm gonna give you these 2 marks very generally. Because hey, I'm a very generous person, and this is not one of the most important questions. It's a diagnosis. It tests you how much you understand the diseases, but it's not that necessary. Because obviously, I don't expect all of you to become doctors at the age of 17, 16, 15. So, for me, possible diagnosis is inflammatory bowel disease, like a Crohn's disease or something like that. Or it could be a bacterial infection. Because he's having cramps and he's having abdominal pain, and especially he's having bloody stools, which is not good. So food is able to propel down the esophagus when a person is hanging upside down. Identify, explain the process that happens. So this process is called peristalsis. So this is because the smooth muscles in your esophagus is kind of following a rhythmic pattern. So like essentially when the food gets down, it just pushes it, pushes it, pushes it. So the next one push it down a little bit, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. So it looks like you're pressing all the keys from left to right on the piano. It looks really beautiful. It's a rhythmic thing, and it's just wonderful. So this process, when it starts, it'll be able to push the food. Uh, it will be able to push the food just completely down. It will down the way. It will go down with the waves. It will go down like, you know, it's like you have muscles that pushes it down and then locks itself so it doesn't go back. So this thing entirely works against gravity, which is very cool. What are the connections between regulation of heartbeat and breathing rate? Okay, so both heart rate and breathing rate are regulated by this thing called medulla oblongata. So you can just write me brain. So it's controlled by brainstem. And then obviously increased CO2 and blood acidity. This is kind of the same thing, which stimulates some chemoreceptors, which I believe I talked about. So it signals your brain, and essentially it's going to increase the heart rate and breathing rate so that we have a better O2 delivery and we can remove more carbon dioxide in a short amount of time. Use a diagram to describe the flow through the heart. So I can't draw it, so I'm not going to draw it, so you can just kind of skip it. Sketch a diagrams note, so we're going to move on to 9T. So how can a gallbladder removal affect a person's health and diet? So we have what does gallbladder do? So it basically stores bile. So bile is released, however, it's not stored. So basically, if we release more, we're not going to be able to store it. So it's used a lot less efficiently. So meaning that our fat emulsification is going to be a little bit downgraded. So what we can hopefully do in this case to as a diet is that we're going to reduce fatty foods. We're going to eat smaller but more frequent meals. So instead of having a lot of bile sitting around, we're not going to let a lot of digestion happen. So each time we're going to eat small meals. So only a small amount of bile is released. So we're not going to try to get a lot of bile to come out even though we don't have a lot of things to digest. So now let's go ahead and do question number 20. Diseases such as pancreatic cancer and human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, can interfere with the healthy function of the pancreas. What will happen to digestion of the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats when pancreas is dysfunctional? So we have to understand what pancreas gives us. So pancreas gives us amylase, trypsin, and chymotrypsin, and also lipase. So carbohydrates, since we don't have a pancreas anymore, so we're reducing the amylase. So we have a lot of incomplete starch digestion. So we're not able to fully digest the carbohydrates. The protein, since we're reducing the trypsin, so the protein breakdown is also kind of, it's crimped. So now we don't have enough protein breakdown. And then fats, we have reduced lipase. So we also have poor fat digestion, and most importantly, we have poor fat absorption. So as well, pancreas also produces a bicarbonate to neutralize the chyme, basically the things that come out of your stomach. So when we don't have this bicarbonate to no more, neutralize anything, this dysfunction could cause acidic duodenum. So it's gonna worsen the enzyme activity even from other stuff. So for example, you know, nothing more from your liver and no more digestion in the duodenum. So because it's completely burnt due to the acid. With that said, that is our entire practice test. And I will be moving on to a practice exam, and I will give those videos out in the next day, I believe, tomorrow or today. Okay?